Start para. The present writ petition challenges the refusal of respondent number 2 in bracket the Institute of Actuaries of India bracket close to issue a certificate of practice to its associate members, and in this context challenges the constitutional validity of regulation of the Institute of Actuaries of India in bracket admission as member and issuance of certificate of practice bracket close regulations 2017. The petition also challenges the constitutional validity of section 12 of the Actuaries Act 2006, which permits only fellow members of respondent number 2 and not associate members to be members of the Council of the Institute of Actuaries of India. However, during the course of arguments, the petitioners have not pressed the challenge to the constitutional validity of section 12 of the Act. Petitioner number 1 is an associate member of the Institute of Actuaries of India, that is, respondent number 2 since 1998. Petitioner number 2 is an associate of the Actuarial Society of India, having qualified as such in 1991 and continues as an associate member of respondent number 2 since its formation. Para. Petitioner number 1 filed his application dated 1st July 2021, applied to respondent number 2 for grant of a COP. On 2nd July 2021, petitioner number 1 received an email from one Mr. Yogesh Pandit, compliance officer of respondent number 2, stating that the eligibility criteria for being entitled to issuance of a COP is mentioned in regulation of the 2017 regulations, and that only fellow members were entitled to get a COP. Petitioner number 1 was thus intimated that his application could not be considered. The application of petitioner number 1 and the relevant email communication is annexed as Exhibit A collectively to the petition. Similarly, petitioner number 2 also made an application dated 13th July 2021 for issuance of a COP and received a similar communication from the office of respondent number 2 on 14th July 2021. The application of petitioner number 2 and the relevant communication are annexed as Exhibit B collectively to the petition. Aggrieved by the same, the petitioners have filed the present petition. Para. Mr. Atharva Date, the learned counsel appearing on behalf of the petitioners, firstly submitted that regulation of the 2017 regulations was contrary to the provisions of the Act in so far as it allowed only the fellow members of respondent number 2 to apply for the grant of a COP. In this context, Mr. Date referred to section 2 in bracket 1 of the Act, which defines a member, section 2 in bracket 1 which defines registered, and section 6 and 7 of the Act, which provide for entry of names in register and associates and fellow respectively. He submitted that a conjoint reading of these provisions would show that for the purposes of the Act, a member would mean an associate member or a fellow member whose name is entered in the register maintained by respondent number 2. Para. Mr. Date further referred to section 9 of the Act, which deals with the COP, and submitted that this provision entitled members to practice once such member fulfills the qualifications as may be specified and obtain a COP. He submitted that once the legislature in its wisdom had rendered both the categories of members, that is, the associate members and the fellow members, entitled for a COP, albeit subject to fulfilling the prescribed qualifications. A category of membership itself cannot be prescribed as a qualification under the regulations, as is done by regulation of the 2017 regulations. Mr. Date submitted that if this course is permitted, then it would amount to narrowing the scope of Section 9 of the Act and defeating the conscious use of the term member in Section 9 by practically substituting the term member with fellow member. Stop.